I have a 2008 Chrysler Aspen in here. Little SUV dodgy thing. It's got a 5.7 Hemi. It's got a bad AC compressor. The clutch coil locked up on it so this doesn't turn, and totally smoked the belt and melted rubbery nasty stuff everywhere. So I'm going to be replacing the whole compressor. Normally on these, whenever you do a compressor, you want to replace the receiver dryer, and that's down here. It's buried underneath the air box. On this particular vehicle though, it never had an actual leak where everything vented to the atmosphere. So the way I look at it, the desiccant bag in that receiver dryer, it never got any moisture in it, because the system was never opened, so I'm not going to bother replacing it. I'm just going to do the AC compressor by itself and evac and recharge it. Another thing too, it's a real high pressure system. The refrigerant, it's always a good idea to take it to a shop and get the refrigerant reclaimed, so you don't vent all this stuff to the atmosphere like every car does when it gets old anyways. So yeah, I already got this evacuated, so there's no refrigerant in it right now. And another thing too is, if you actually do take it to a shop, you're going to want to measure how much oil came out of it when they take the refrigerant out. If you try to do it yourself somehow, which you shouldn't, apparently it's illegal, I think, you're going to want to measure how much comes out. The faster it comes out, the more oil you lose. And that's about all I got to say about that. I got a nice new AC compressor and a belt, some PEG 46. Okay, I'm doing it. Get this air box off of here first. And then, ooh, that's some nice glue right there. And you got a little glue job going on there. There's a 13 millimeter right here for this fan shroud that's not screwed in all the way for whatever reason, I don't know. Wow. That's not supposed to happen, so that's probably just luck on my part. It's broke. Well, that's way too easy for me. Things aren't supposed to be that easy. This fan shroud's broke, so it came off really nice. It's broke over here too. You're supposed to take this upper radiator hose off, and then while the belt's on, you got to get this nut off. Either looks like somebody already used a chisel and a hammer on it before to get it off, or else you use an actual wrench that's made for fan clutches to get this off of here. I'm not gonna do all of that though, because this thing's broken in my favor. Holy melted rubber. This guy was driving this for so long. Oh my God. Look at this. What a neglectful guy. Yeah, you know who you are. Oh my God. Oh my God. How can you drive something like that? Look at this. This is all belt material, and I don't know. Maybe it's a little clutch coil material too. Wow. It's just stuck to everything. It's actually kind of sharp. This plastic pulley is oh my God, it's all melted. I'm going to have to put a tensioner pulley on it too. These grooves, they're all yucky. I'm going to have to clean a lot of these grooves up too. All of that material that's stuck in the grooves is just going to chew up a brand new belt like no tomorrow. This tensioner is a 15 millimeter. That's no good. Wow. You can probably replace these in the car if you need to. It's always a good idea to just go nice and slow with these, because sometimes they're reverse thread. I think this one is. No. That's a regular right-handed thread. If anybody says they don't have a pulley and they just have a tensioner, call them a liar. Here's the part number here. This is a Gates one I found. Make sure it turns really nice and it doesn't hit anything. I'm just going to take a pick and clean these pulley grooves. See all this? That stuff's no good. You don't want that in there when you put a new belt on it. Now I got to clean this crankshaft pulley down here. You can barely see it. It's all full of nasty. I'm going to do something I would not recommend. It might be dangerous. I'm going to run the engine, get in here with a pick. There, that's clean. Okay, now I'm going to clean this power steering pulley. Now I can go ahead and put this tensioner back on. There's a couple alignment pins on here. Got to make sure this one goes in the hole. Okay, now it's AC compressor time. Got a child-proof connector here. Got this little red tab you got to push over and then push in. Unplug that. These are 13 millimeters. It's always a good idea to just unscrew them just a little bit and then just loosen them up kind of and make darn sure there is no refrigerant in there. It's got a little squirt in there, just a little bit. It's a good idea to plug these up too. Just gonna find something I can stick in this hole so I can keep moisture from getting in there. There's a 15 millimeter right here. There's a funky metal bracket here with 4 13 millimeter bolts. There's a 15 millimeter bolt right here. And there's one more 13 millimeter bolt hiding back here in the corner. I can get some pry bar action and just pop this thing out of here. I'm going to see how much oil comes out of here. You can drain it out of these holes right here. Nothing's coming out of there though, I already tried. So I'm going to take this pressure relief valve off. There should be something come out of here maybe. You always want to take out as much, you want to put in the new compressor as much as you take out of here at a minimum of 2 ounces. If you have a really big leak, like a blown out line, or if this thing exploded somehow and it spit refrigerant all over the place, you want a minimum of 3 ounces. And if I dump over 2 ounces out of this compressor, then that's how much I want to put in, however much it is. And there is nothing coming out of here. There's nothing. Oh, there. Oh, yuck. Wow, that's all I got out of it. That'd be like fantastic color for some kind of paint. Oh my God. At this point, I would probably want to clean out all the lines and perform some serious cleanly magic. Put a receiver dryer in it. This is a thermal expansion valve system, so I wouldn't have to put a fixed orifice tube in here or anything, but that's really disgusting. And this guy's poor, and I'm just going to slap in another compressor. These usually always have at least 2 ounces of oil in them, so I'm just going to leave it. You should drain all this out and then put it in at least 2 ounces back in. Or if you took out more out of your old compressor, you want to put however much that is in here. So the story goes. But in this case, I'm not going to do anything. There's already oil in here, and I'm just going to throw it on and not add anything. Well, there's usually vacuum in these, so you should hear a little popping noise taking these caps off. Yeah, there's a good amount of oil in here. If you want, you can turn this nice and slow a bunch of times, just to make sure that oil is cycled in there really nice and it's squirting out. So I'm going to use that stuff for my seals. Always use new O-rings and seals. Oh, and don't forget to take the cap off. That would have been stupid. Damn dodgy. There, I heard it click. That's supposed to be somewhere with a zip tie. That's what I'm going for. I don't remember where this goes, and it doesn't look like there's a place for it anywhere, so I'm just going to be creative. Put it somewhere where it doesn't flop around, like on the cold side line. Yeah, that'll be fine. Right now would be a good time to put the new belt back on here. Yeah, you got to put it on that pulley last, or it won't even go. That's really tight fit. Okay, now you're going to want to put the fan shroud on in that upper radiator hose. This is too easy. I can imagine somebody breaking this on purpose to do like a water pump or something and make their life easier. Somebody cheated. Yeah, and gluing this together is like amateur hour. Stuff like that never works, so I'm going to go at least an inch behind the crack. I'm going to stitch all this with zip ties. Amateur hour. There, two's enough. This is my cheap way to do an evacuation. Get vacuum in the system to draw out as much air as I can. I got one of these. This is what you use for the can to fill up with the cheap little cans of 134. I got that hooked up to the cold side, and there's a little ball bearing in here somewhere, a little check valve that I had to take out of it. I think if you just cut this hose, though, the check valve's on the other side. I put a quick connect on here just because I could. I got a T. I hooked that up to a vacuum gauge just so I can read the vacuum and see what it's doing. And then I just find manifold vacuum. In this case, there's a little vacuum port on the bottom of the brake booster that I can use for that. So I'm just going to start this thing up and run it for, I don't know, 7 to 15 minutes. Let it evac really good. Yeah, it's pulling 18 to 20 inches of vacuum, so that's excellent. Okay, I've been waiting plenty long enough. It's holding good vacuum. So what I do is I just leave it running, and I just pull this off, because that'll keep all the vacuum in the system, and then I shut the car off. Kind of nice they leave a little vacuum port on here for you. Just a little rubber cap over it. Put that back on. I don't know how much I don't have a scale for my refrigerant. I just guess. Usually I'm a pretty good guesser. You really should weigh this stuff. If you use them cheap little cans from the store, you can figure out how much refrigerant this takes and just do the math and buy however many cans you need and just put them in. Like I say, I got to guess though, and when it's cold it's a little harder to do. I'm going to put this cold side on first, and this thing should start reading vacuum, and it does, which is good. See, it's reading like about 10 inches of vacuum. So I can actually hold it there and wait about a half an hour, 20 minutes, and make sure this doesn't go down, because if it does, it'll have a leak. So that's how you test the system. That way I know I got vacuum in the system too. Okay, I've been waiting a good long while and the vacuum hasn't gone anywhere, so there's no leaks in the system, so I'm just going to start this thing up and add some refrigerant. Okay, this thing doesn't feel like defrosting the windows with the AC on, and it's too cold for the air conditioning to turn on by itself. So I'm going to get creative here again, like I always do. I wired in 2 wires into the clutch. I unplugged it and wired it in manually, and I'm just going to use a power probe, and this induces voltage into the coil so the compressor can kick on, so I can read system pressures and fill it up to something that I think is going to work. And it's working. Yeah, I'm going to leave it right there. That should be fine. I suppose just for kicks, I can take this thing apart and see what's going on with it. Oh, please do, right? Oh, look at this. This bolt's even loose. It's not even tight. Wow. Probably loosened up on its own from getting smoked. Ooh, it spins now. Ooh, kind of. Oh, that looks fancy. Look at all that rubber. I think the belt is on the inside of this clutch. Wow, hey, there's a bad bearing in this. Ooh, the bearing went out. Is that the whole deal? Get out the snap ring. Something's happening. I can feel it in my bones. Ooh, I got ball bearings. Yummy. Ooh, yummy. Ooh, coil. There's the coil winding. Oh, that got smoked a little bit. Yeah. There's supposed to be some stuff holding that all together. Wow, fancy. This bearing's almost off. Get something a little different to whack on. There. Washer. I was wondering if I could just get a clutch and a coil. This compressor's locked up too. It don't even turn. Let's go a little deeper, shall we? Okay, now it should be leaking crappy little gray nasty oil all over the place. This is the valving. There are a bunch of reed valves in here. Oops. See, that was the reed valve. Kind of like a 2-stroke motorcycle runs with those two. Steel plate, valve body thing, whatever you want to call it. More valving, more little reeds. Then you got all these little pistons that move up and down to pump. These are your pumping pistons. More reed valves, valve body, whatever you want to call that thing. And it still doesn't want to move. Ow, it went right through my glove. It's stuck in my finger. See that little bump right there? I got a piece of metal in there. Ow. Dr. Feelgood. Help. Help, Dr. Feelgood. Help. Hope I got tetanus shot. Yeah, there's a bearing in here, a little needle bearing. And a bunch of little ball things, and this is your cam. It's supposed to turn, and it's supposed to pull these pistons up and down, and it don't do any of that. The cam and the funky little things that ride on the cam. There, now it works. See, now it works fine. Okay. There, now you know. That's why you don't try to fix one of these things. Okay, bye.